Oh, the chords? Yeah. Jillian, Jillian, come sit up here. Jillian, I don't think there's any possible outcome where we can. No. Actually, we'll have to see. They're gonna play like 3 minutes. Yeah. When they finish, you can come up and start. Is there gonna be a light? He's gonna click it on. Alec knows. Awesome. All right, so we're good to go. I've probably read through the entire thing. Welcome to the 2018 National Honor Society and Science Honor Society induction. My name is Skylar Smith, and I am one of the presidents for the National Honor Society. I would like to thank all of you for being here tonight to celebrate the tremendous academic achievements of these scholars. First off, I would like to say congratulations. You guys are the best that Pentucket has to offer, and each and every one of you should be very proud of your accomplishments over the last 3 years. Last year, I sat in these exact seats, and all of a sudden, here I am as a senior about to graduate. For most of you, it may feel as if the days here drag on at Pentucket. But believe me when I say this, you will miss them when you are gone. I encourage each and every one of you to make the most out of the remainder of your high school career, because time really doesn't stop for anyone or anything. I used to go home after school and just study right up until I went to bed. And I mean, that was great and all, but I want to tell you that you will not remember those days. What you will miss, however, are the experiences and opportunities which the school has presented to you. You have the ability to join a club or go to a game or make a friend, and I really hope you do that in the next year. The last thing I'm going to say is this. Look around you. There's really not a shortage of brain power in this room. And on a larger scale, you can pretty much find people who are really good at school no matter where you look. Therefore, I encourage you to find your passion. And the bottom line is this. All school does for you is it teaches you how to think. And in all honesty, having the ability to get an A isn't really that rare. In pursuing something that you love outside of school and pushing yourself in that field, you will find your own path. Sooner than later, high school will be in the past, and the ability to succeed doing the work teachers just tell you to do will be gone, and you will need to find your own path. So I encourage you to get a head start on that. So now I'd like to introduce one of my close friends, fellow National Honor Society president, and the most optimistic and driven person I know, Jillian Wong.
Hello and welcome to the 2018 National Honor Society induction. My name is Jillian and I am one of the National Honor Society presidents. I would first like to begin with a congratulations to all of the inductees here as well as their friends and family. To have earned a place here tonight is a great accomplishment and one that you should all be proud of. You've worked hard to get here, sacrificing vacation leisures, weekend nights, and precious REM sleep in order to juggle the rigorous demands of classes, extracurriculars, and community service. There is no doubt in my mind that we are in the presence of a truly extraordinary group tonight. I promise that my address tonight will be brief, but before I release you all, I would like to use this time with a captive audience to talk about the singular idea which I believe to be the essence of National Honor Society, and this is the spirit of free inquiry. What I am referring to here is the unrestrained pursuit of growth, knowledge, and experience. The spirit of free inquiry is, in its purest form, learning for learning's sake. It is something that is unpolluted by the allures of an impeccable GPA, the perfect SAT score, or administrative favor. The spirit of inquiry is what inspires us to venture beyond the curriculum, to ask hopelessly tangent questions, and to spend hours Googling everything from black holes and measurable infinities to the great Emu War of 1932. The spirit of free inquiry is arguably one of the great pillars, if not the great pillar of education. Without it, the time spent in any classroom is effectively rendered mindless, cursory at best. In the absence of passion and dynamism, which the spirit of inquiry encapsulates, school is nothing more than a manufacturing plant, in which students are mass-produced and shuffled through their classes as though on a conveyor belt, apathetically allowing themselves to be stuffed with dates and formulas until they must regurgitate them on tests and exams, forget them, and begin the cycle anew. It is for this reason I am deeply concerned by a growing epidemic among high-achieving students, one which threatens the spirit of free inquiry, the fear of inadequacy. Now, this fear can manifest in a variety of forms. Fear of judgment for asking what may be deemed a stupid question, fear of persecution for presenting an unpopular, potentially politically charged opinion, fear of admitting ignorance. But all of these can be collectively categorized as a daunting threat of failure, the boogeyman of students such as ourselves. In truth, this fear is more than understandable, especially as individuals who have been praised for their limitless potential and knowledge all of our lives. We rationally fear anything which may usurp us from our niche as the brainiacs. Naturally, we want to preserve the image of our aptitude, but this can too easily warp into an aversion to anything which may hold the potential to expose our intellectual weaknesses. In extremes, this fear can grow to the point where we find ourselves incapable of exploring any topics outside our own interpretations and understandings, a dangerous trap which stagnates all potential for growth and development. As you embark upon your final conquest of standardized tests and AP classes next year, I would like to remind you of the essence of NHS in the spirit of free inquiry, in that learning should never be a wholly comfortable process. If we aspire to be the true scholars, we must accept that we can never be all-knowing. There will be times when you find yourself totally and hopelessly confused, ignorant even. But it is your duty as a National Honors student to admit to your weakness and utilize the people and tools at your disposal to educate yourself. Similarly, as NHS scholars, you must be nurturing of debates and discussions which may be inherently offensive and contradictory to your own beliefs. I challenge you to approach these topics without derision, but instead with a respect and commitment to the exchange of free ideas. Especially in the times we live in, it is paramount that we are able to speak and disagree without malice, and be able to look past our differences in a united effort for solutions and compromise. You are now the leaders of this school, Pentucket's brightest, and in so, you are now responsible for facilitating the spirit of inquiry. So I implore you to ask questions, to take the risk of challenging the bandwagon, and to seek out what challenges you and makes you uncomfortable. It is from these experiences that you will acquire the insight which you seek. Thank you for your time, and I wish you the best of luck at your last year here at Pentucket. Without further ado, I'd like to present our lovely Science National Honor Society officers, Gabby Blake and Tori Kelleher.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you so much for coming. So as you know, this is the National Honor Society induction and the Science National Honor Society induction. This is only the second year that the Science National Honor Society is being a thing, as you may know. I am the president of the Science National Honor Society, just in case I forgot to say that earlier. I'm incredibly happy to see all the students here today. About to be inducted into the National Honor Society and the Science National Honor Society, and I'm really glad that, especially with the SNHS, we are carrying on the tradition that we started with a little idea in our AP Chem class a year ago that has finally come to fruition, and I'm glad you guys are carrying on the tradition. I also want to acknowledge how hard y'all have worked to get here. I know that junior year is a struggle. It's really hard having to do APs and like SATs and all that nonsense. But I have no doubt that there was countless hours of sleep sacrificed for homework, lab reports, and those dreaded AP review packets. Y'all truly deserve the recognition for being outstanding students in the sciences. However, demonstrating excellence is only one side of scientific achievement. The other side, and more integral part, I think, to science is being curious. You know how little kids, they always ask like really sometimes annoying questions, like why is grass green, or why is the sky blue, or why can't we fly like birds can? Well, thanks to thousands of years of people asking these sorts of questions and having inquiring scientific minds, we have the answers to these questions and many more. But there are still lots of mysteries out there, and if you guys choose to pursue science or not, I know that y'all can solve those if you stay curious. So thanks for all your hard work in the past 3 years, and good luck with your future in the sciences. So yeah, with that, I will introduce Secretary of the National Honor Society and member of the Science National Honor Society, Victoria Kelleher.
Hello everyone. My name is Victoria Kelleher, and I'm a senior, Secretary of National Honor Society, and a member of Science National Honor Society. But I'm here to talk to you all about Science Honor Society tonight. The society itself was formed long ago but was introduced in Pentucket by a few students last year. We wondered as a school as to why we never had one, because there's so much scientific talent within these walls. We finally got the okay to start it, and now we have the opportunity to recognize your fantastic work that you've displayed thus far in your high school career. The Science National Honor Society recognizes students who display outstanding academics and character, who also maintain a commitment to the natural sciences and their community. It is considered a great success to be inducted into the society, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. You all have proven yourself through the rigors of high school and excelled, and for that, I commend you. Getting to where you all are was no cakewalk. You had to all maintain at least a 3.8 GPA in high school, a B or higher in an AP science course, and you also had to have at least 4 years worth of science class credit. There are other things, but it's a little lengthy to go on about. The fact that you all balance your extracurriculars, a job, or what have you with all your schoolwork and have succeeded to this extent is incredible. To get where you are, sacrifices had to be made, like studying for a chemistry test instead of hanging out with your friends. I know it must have been difficult, but you persevered. You all should be very proud of yourselves and how far you've come. I won't continue to ramble on about how great you are because that's what your family and friends are here for. But let me leave you with this. The motto for Science National Honor Society is, "Fortunate is one who understands the causes of things." Searching through the depths of science can open up such experiences, and it's so wonderful to see such a talented group of people understand the importance of science and what it can do for the world. Science is at the utmost importance at this day and age, and I know all of you will expand its horizons for a brighter future. I know all of you understand that tonight's induction is a reminder of your capability, and I hope you take it as far as you can in life. I'm looking forward to a very advanced future in the sciences, and I have no doubt that you all have a hand in it. Best of luck in your future endeavors, and congratulations. And now, I will welcome back Skylar Smith to introduce our guest speaker.
With this being the first year that Pentucket has combined the National Honor Society and the Science Honor Society, we felt that it was vital to find someone at Pentucket who embodied both of these organizations. Immediately, we thought of Mr. Langlois. In my opinion, he's the best teacher that I've ever had in this high school. So he taught me to push myself, especially in times when I really didn't think I could push any further. He showed me no matter how hard and how well I did on something, there was always room for improvement. I am beyond thankful for everything he has done for me, because I know that without him, I honestly would not be where I am today. At this time, I'd like to introduce the teacher who showed me how to love science, and more importantly, to go about everything in life with a 100% effort, Mr. Langlois.
Wow, that was really nice. I was not expecting that. Okay, I've been around for a while. I need reading glasses. I don't know how to give a formal speech, so it won't be like that. So when Skylar and Jillian, hey, congratulations to you guys. Congratulations to you guys on your public speaking. Well done there. When they asked me to do this, I first said, yes, absolutely, without a second thought. And then I had a lot of thoughts of what am I going to tell you guys that is something you haven't heard before without, I was like, I can't just be like, work hard, kids, you can do it, and all that kind of stuff, because you already know that. But it's perfect that Skylar was talking about finding your passion, finding the thing that you want to do, whatever. And I am here to make you feel okay about not finding it right away. I can tell you that, okay? Sorry, parents. Because, right, you seniors who are about to leave and you juniors are not far off from okay, you are supposed to make this big decision about what it is that you want to go on and have a career in and spend probably the majority of your waking time doing. So I figured I'd tell a little bit about how I got to be here, and you'd all feel a little better about probably not being all that comfortable with either the choice that you've made or you haven't even made a choice at all. Or you've made one and you're faking it. So after my sophomore year of high school, I went to visit colleges because my older brother was a junior, and so they brought me along. And I saw this amazing building built by Frank Lloyd Wright called Falling Water. It's outside of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. And I was like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was built out over a waterfall, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an architect. That's awesome. And then I was like, yep. For the next 2 years of high school, absolutely. And then after one semester of college in the architecture program, I said, no, I don't like this. So then I spent, the next year and a half just actively trying to not pick anything to major in because I had no idea. Then it came down to, okay, I like physics. And then I had taken a psychology class, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Then I went and talked to people in both departments, and the people in the physics department said, you're a little behind. I don't know what, you can start as a junior, but you won't graduate on time. And the psychology people said, oh, you've taken a couple classes, you'll be fine. You'll graduate on time. And so I said, there you go, major chosen. And I went on, and I got a degree in psychology. And side note, you may do this at some point, but I think of like what would have happened had I gotten into graduate school in psychology like I applied, and if I'd been a psychologist in just the alternate universe that would have existed. I'm glad it didn't. So, yeah, right at the end of college, I was like, hey, I have a psychology degree and I don't have any plans of anything to do with it. So now what do I do? And then I had a very brief period where a friend of mine said, hey, my dad sells car alarms and home alarms, and he was like, you're going to make a lot of money. You should do this. Yeah, I couldn't do that. So I did a couple months of that. Forget it, right, after college. So then, sitting around at home, a little bit depressed, and my mother said, hey, guess what? You are now on the substitute teaching list at Masco, because I grew up in that area. I went there, sorry. Someone's going to attack me, I think. So I find myself, I'm getting called to substitute teach like 4 or 5 times a week, and it's not real teaching, but, I was like, no, it's not the same. It's not the same, that's all. But I enjoyed working with kids, and then I started coaching. My younger brother was on the JV soccer team, and I was like, hey, I'm here during the day. Maybe I'll just go and help out with the team. And so I started doing that, and I said, wow, this actually makes me feel like I'm doing something, and it feels worthwhile, and I enjoy it. So I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to be a teacher. Before then, I'd never thought of being a teacher, okay? We'll remember that later. So I went back to school. I got another bachelor's degree. This time I did go into physics because it is what I really enjoy studying and learning, and I was like, that's what I'll teach if I can. So did that. Took 3 more years to do that, plus the 1 semester that I was out. And then I was like, wow, this is really going well. Maybe I like stay in physics, and I'll like be a professor, and I'll do physics research and teach in college. And so then I went to graduate school for that for a couple years. Turns out, we all have our things that we like. Research, not for me. The most fun thing that I did there was my teaching. I had to teach a lab section, and I absolutely loved that. So finally, I left there. By now I'm in my late 20s, and my parents were not paying for all this, just be clear on that. They did 1 semester of my 2nd degree, and then they said, yeah, you're on your own. So finally at that point, I was like, okay, yep, this is when it's going to happen. I'm going to go, I'm going to teach, and I'm going to get into it. And at that point, age 28 and a half, I started teaching, I started coaching, and there was no doubt that that is what I loved to do, and that is what made me happy every day. And I cannot stress enough that because you're going to spend so much time doing whatever it is that you do, you have to find something that you enjoy doing. Because you're going to put a lot of time into it, and you will resent that time that it takes to do the job well if you don't really enjoy what you're doing. It may not be on the first thing you pick, it may not be on the second, but keep looking. That is all I want to say. Whenever you get there, all right? And now one shameless plug about how great teaching is. My sister's a teacher. She loves it. She's been doing it for 13 years. My dad worked his whole life in the publishing industry. He worked his way up to being president of some publishing company that published like textbooks and whatever. He got laid off at the age of 64, like right before he was going to get like some good retirement package or something like that. And he was like, I'm going to go back to school. I got to keep working for a little while because, whatever, still need money. He goes back to school for like financial planning or something like that. A couple of years later, Merrimack, that's where he went, Merrimack College. They were like, hey, you know what? We need someone to teach one of the courses that you took. Do you want to do it? And he said, yeah, sure, okay. So he did that, and then he started teaching a few more classes. That was at age 66. And he spent the next 5 years teaching, and he said, this is what I've been waiting my whole life to do. So hopefully you can find that before then, okay? But as long as you find it, right, then everything is going to be worthwhile. So congratulations again. Thank you very much. Good night.
Jake Baines being inducted into the National Honor Society. Christina Balea being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Trevor Blanchard being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Zachary Bogart being inducted into the National Honor Society. Mark Booley being inducted into the National Honor Society. Isabel Bouncy being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Allison Brookhart being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Cassidy Brown being inducted into the National Honor Society. Kylie Bucco being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Peyton Burns being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. David Cares being inducted into the National Honor Society. Jack Cloyce being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Olivia Cross being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Nick D'Alessandro being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. John Davis being inducted into the National Honor Society.
Lauren Du Bois being inducted into the National Honor Society. Janet Dickens being inducted into the National and Science National Honor Society. Patrick Dillon being inducted to the National and Science Honor Society. Anna Dixon being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Kenny Drury being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Annika Ellis being inducted into the National Honor Society. Kaylee Enright being inducted into the National Honor Society. Audra Foster being inducted into the National and Science National Honor Society. Vanessa Franco being inducted into the National Honor Society. Emily Freed being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Ryan Gallagher being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Jessica Galvin being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Maura Gawries being inducted into the National Honor Society. Anthony Giampetro being inducted into the National Honor Society. Emmett Hamilton being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Matthew Hersey being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society.
Kevin Inger being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Jasmine Jamoy being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Joseph Johnson being inducted into the National Honor Society. Lauren Kelly being inducted into the National Honor Society. Michaela Lawless being inducted into the National Honor Society. Noah Longo being inducted into the Science Honor Society. Kaylin Markins being inducted into the National Honor Society. Mackenzie Markins being inducted into the National Honor Society. Jake Messier being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Lily Meyer being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Alyssa Matola being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Mary Kayala Ott being inducted into the National Honor Society. Sabrina Paulino being inducted into the National Honor Society. Anna Parati being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Anna Powell being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Colby Pratt being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society.
Andre Provencio being inducted into the Science Honor Society. Julia Redding being inducted into the National Honor Society. Emily Riley being inducted into the National Honor Society. Nicole Robertson being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Sabrina Romano being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Grace Ruchala being inducted into the National Honor Society. Cameron Santos being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Jessica Schultz being inducted into the National Honor Society. Ryan Smith being inducted into the Science Honor Society. Casey Snow being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Elizabeth Sutton being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Audrey Thronson being inducted into the National Honor Society. Vanessa Vivalecchia being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Lauren Ward being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Emma Wilson being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. Jason Young being inducted into the National and Science Honor Society. And last but not least, Tia Zanardi being inducted into the National Honor Society and Science Honor Society.
Hi, I'm Melanie Adams, also president of the National Honor Society, and I just wanted to say congratulations to all the inductees. Your academic efforts and service to your community has set you apart from your peers, and you should be extremely proud of your achievement. Special thanks to all the people who made this night possible, especially Mr. Dziak and Ms. Lentz. Before we let you go for the night, I'd like to take a few minutes to give you the advice that I wish I received a year ago. At this point last year, I was in the same boat that some of you might be in. I had not toured a single college and had not taken the SATs once, and I was completely clueless about where my future would take me. In short, I was terrified. Juniors, these next 12 months are going to be a roller coaster. In fact, although people often say that junior year is the most stressful year, I thought that senior year was worse. It was. On top of rigorous classes, you will also face the most daunting task of all, applying for college. After rereading your essay about 100 times, you will send your application away and wait up to 5 months to know if you got in. In the meantime, you may feel pressured to play the lead in every play, be the captain of every varsity sports team, win every game, and get accepted to every college you apply. While I wish you all the best in achieving these things, there will come a time when things fall short of your expectations. So few students get accepted to every college they apply, especially those who reach for Ivies and other selective institutions. I implore you, when you face rejection, remember, don't take anything personally. This is coming from a person who was rejected to 7 schools. Each year, more and more qualified students apply to universities, and the acceptance rate drops every year. When selecting schools to tour and apply to, remember that a low acceptance rate does not make a school better, and it definitely doesn't make it a better fit for you. While acceptance to a prestigious university may make you feel proud, this experience is heavily glorified. You do not need to be accepted to every university, and sometimes closed doors are the universe's way of sending you in the right direction. Keep your mind open, and I assure you that you will end up where you are meant to be. Lastly, I wish somebody had told me a year ago, slow down, live. Make a list of the things you can control and the things you can't. There is no reason to worry about things you have no control over. And there's no need to be anxious just because the future is still unknown. Drive slow with the windows down. No failed tests that you fail this next year will have any impact on you in a year. It will not close any doors. When you leave this place in one short year, take warm memories with you. Thank you, everyone. Good night.